What's up, guys? I have a couple of hours this morning to knock out a shop infrastructure organizational project I've had kind of in the works for a little while. Let me walk you through the problem I'm trying to solve. So the issue I have is with my current organizational strategy, or lack thereof, for all of my taps, dies, end mills, drill bits, all of that kind of stuff. So right now I have a little drawer here with, like, I don't know, 30 different size taps just kind of thrown in there. We walk to the back of the shop. I have another little drawer with half a set of taps and dies, a couple drill indexes, and then this monstrosity back here, which is just a huge box full of drill bits that have absolutely no organization whatsoever. So in doing some research on how best to solve this problem, I came across these drill organizers, and I was pleasantly surprised to find that the sponsor of today's video, which is Vevor, sells all of these on their website. So Vevor is a tool company that they actually provided the DRO that I use on my mill. I've had a really good success with that. I have no complaints whatsoever. So I was confident to turn to them for this solution as well. So what we did is we got 6 of these individual drawer organizers, and these are all labeled to handle different things. So I'll give you kind of a quick rundown of what that is. So up here we have A through Z, which is of course for all of our letter drills. Below that we have 1 through 49 for all of our number drills. Below that is where we are going to set up for metric. I don't have a ton of metric drills, I don't think, but I want to make sure we have a spot for those. Moving over, we have fractional drills. So from a 1/16 of an inch all the way up to 63/64, and every combination in between. So that's going to be sweet. Below that is going to be probably for our larger drills, anything I have over 1 inch, which is not a ton, but these are pretty decent sized pockets. We'll have to kind of figure this one out. This is still a little bit of a mystery for me of what I'm going to do with it. Over here we move on to taps, metric taps, SAE or standard size taps, and below this is going to be end mills. And they're all labeled 1/8 inch all the way up to 1 inch. These all do come with sheets too if you want to replace it and put something different in there, different sizes, or increase the number of slots for 1/8 inch, or whatever you want to do. You can kind of customize them. The plan is to utilize some of this 3/4 inch angle iron I picked up. I think I have 5 or 6 6-foot lengths of that. We're going to build what is effectively a cage. So it's going to go around the bottom of this, around the top, and then we'll connect down the sides. That'll hold all of these secure to each other. What I don't yet know is if we're going to have any issue with me like pulling on the center one and having it Jenga piece out of there. So I may have to run some supports down the kind of where the 2 sections meet up. We'll worry about that a little bit later. The idea is that that whole assembly will fit perfectly underneath the brake right here. So this will be all 9 drawers kind of lined up under there, filling in what is just dead space right now. Also adding a little bit of weight, actually quite a bit of weight, to this assembly too, because this is relatively heavy, but if you're bending up a decent sized piece, you can kind of scoot that a little bit. So some added weight on the bottom of this is going to be welcomed. I'm going to start out with this bottom piece. So this is going to be a total of 44.5 inches long. I am going to go ahead and do 45-degree miters on each corner, just so all the pieces meet up nicely. Once that first one is cut and everything looks good, I will actually just cut 3 more, because we need 4 total of that exact same size for each corner of the outside. Then we'll move on to these center supports. The Evolution chop saw made quick work of that. You can see all of our miters and everything are exactly what we wanted. So I was trying to think through of if I cared to make this thing serviceable, for lack of a better word. Do I care to have the ability to take it apart, is basically what I'm saying. I can't think of a scenario where I would need to remove just one of these. If I were to add more in the future, this design isn't going to work and we'd have to remake it. If I can't think of how one of these would get damaged and I would need to replace it, I don't know. That seems like a problem that I can solve at that point. It's not something I need to incorporate into the design. So what I'm going to do is take 3 of these boxes, put them into a frame, make sure everything's nice and tight, everything fits well and is square, and then I'm just going to tack weld the 4 corners. We'll do that for both of the big frames. Then give everything a coat of paint, leaving just a little bit of room for final welding. Then we'll put all the boxes in, put the top on, weld the vertical supports on. So that's kind of my order of operations here. So as of right now, next step is to tack weld these 4 corners. Little progress report. We have the top and bottom frame completely welded and ground down smooth. Now, the next step is going to be these vertical supports, but before I do that, because we will not be able to remove the drawers once that's done, is like I mentioned, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a coat of paint, and I'm just gonna leave like this little corner in all 4 corners unpainted until I can weld it, grind it, and then we'll get in there and kind of do some touch-up paint in the corners. But the vast majority of the painting I can just knock out when it's in separate pieces. So I'm gonna do that, go grab some lunch while it dries, and we'll come back and finish. So I got my frame all tacked in place and everything looks really good, except for I am having that one issue I was worried about that I'm gonna call a Jenga problem. If I pull out this center drawer, I can pull the whole assembly out. Obviously that's not gonna work well. So I need to basically put some bar stock in here. I'm gonna go buy some more 1-inch stock. I'll be able to cut it to length, weld it on the top and bottom here. I'll do one here, there, and the exact same thing on the back side. And that will just keep everything from being able to move forward and backwards. We won't have to worry about any of these drawers moving. They're gonna be pretty much permanently mounted in here. So I do need to go buy some more of that material. I can knock that out in a minute. I'm gonna go ahead, before I do that, knock out the finish welding on all of these seams. Then, yeah, I mean, we're getting pretty close here. Went and picked up an 1.25 inch flat bar that seemed to fit the best in here. So now I can pull all these out. No risk of it going any direction. I do have matching ones on the other side. So we are solid and ready to go. So I got it finished welded and kind of slid it over here. And I'm still playing around with whether or not I want this to be its final home. So before I actually put it up in this frame and weld it, I am going to use it for a couple of weeks. I want to take the time and go ahead and fill all the drawers, which is going to take a monumental amount of time, but it's going to save me a lot of time in the future. So that's kind of the point of this project. Is I have a huge kind of log jam, so to speak, every time I need a drill bit and I'm digging around for it, or I need to find a tap and I don't know which place it's in, I got to dig through them all. So the amount of time that this took to build and will take to kind of stock will pay it for itself in the not too distant future, I trust. But what I'm not sure about is if I'm going to be annoyed by how low it is to the ground. So if I need, say, a tap or something like that that's in one of these bottom drawers, I mean, I'm basically picking this thing up off the ground, and that seems like it might get annoying pretty quick. So before I finalize it, I want to kind of test it out. Option B would be to kind of use, I have some more of this 2x2 material, build another frame similar to this to get this thing up off the ground. And it would either go on this back wall behind me or the wall behind the camera. There's plenty of, call it open wall space to fit this whole thing. So that's where I'm going to call it for this one. Off camera, I'm going to go ahead and just throw on a podcast or whatever and go through all my drill bits and organize them all and put them in here, which is going to be very tedious, but well worth it. So another huge shout out to VEVOR for sponsoring this video. There will be a link in the description below to every one of these. It'll be an affiliate link, so I do get a kickback if you want to check them out and get some for yourself. I've been super happy with them so far. I trust they'll last a long time. So I appreciate you guys watching as always. I'll catch you on the next one.